Hey, welcome. Enjoying your blended family. All the B fams out there. I felt like you were waving your hand, so I had to just throw some hands up because that's what you do. When someone's doing it, then you have to do it as well. If not, one looks like the odd man out, and we never want that to isolate anybody.
Yes, and I mean we love the podcast because you can't see us, but we always also love our YouTube
where you can
listeners, where you can see how much I talk with my hands
and how goofy I can be as well. So I mean, there you go. You get the best of both worlds.
Oh
yeah, there was a song in my head, and I didn't sing it that time because that's not what today's topic is about. But let's think about this. It's November, and we have holidays right around the corner. I mean, they are a knockin', everybody. We have Thanksgiving right there. We have Christmas right there. We have New Year's right there. And can you believe it's that close?
Yeah, and then don't stop there. And then you have Valentine's, and then you have St. Patrick's Day, and then you have Easter.
Oh my goodness.
It's basically summer again.
You've already circled around. That was, wow. Did y'all know that the year went that quick? Here we are. You know, we just circled a year, but we are close to the holidays. And I don't know about your blended family, but it always seems like the holidays is a time that brings a lot more drama.
Yeah, so much so that when we asked you guys those on our Instagram, what is one of the things that just aren't simple in a blended family? Holidays is what kept coming up.
It really is. It's a challenge. We have experienced so much of it as we've heard everyone else has. So we know we're not just uncommon, but everyone goes through these struggles. And so what we've done is we've broken this up into part 1 and part 2. And we have today, we're going to go through 3 hot problems that we see in blended families. So stay tuned. This is going to be awesome.
When we bring up these questions, these are questions that not only we may or may not have experienced before in our lives, but you guys have experienced as well. Some of you may be on the other side, and if that is you, I just want you to take a moment in this season of Thanksgivingness and gratitude just to take a deep breath and be like, I've made it to the other side. Right?
That is right. Yes. You want to take that deep breath and just breathe sometimes. Breathe.
Yes, we had some of y'all answering in on there and like, you know what? We survived the holidays. And then sometimes a lot of you guys, you figured things out as well. Like as you maneuvered through it, especially in the beginning years, it's so much harder because this is new. It's new for you and it's new for the kids and it's new for your ex-spouse so that if they get remarried, it's new for them and it's new for the grandparents. Everybody is experiencing this new season and nobody really knows what to do with it. And so it takes a few years to get into a rhythm of trying to figure that out.
Well, and even with that, throughout your blended family is new seasons. So maybe your ex hasn't been dating anyone and all of a sudden does years later, and that brings on a whole new set of things. Or in your life, maybe there was one season for you, you and your family were operating one way and then you had to change and do another way. Maybe you had an hours baby years down the road. And so it's always changing. There's different seasons that can bring on even new challenges. So yeah, we've got 3 questions that are really just some hot topics during the holidays that, we've learned the hard way. We've seen others learn the hard way, but we've all learned a lot. So as a BFAM community, we want to come together and kind of share what we've learned, what we've heard others have learned and experienced. That way it can help ease some of that tension during these holidays, and everyone is enjoying their blended family even more.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with question number 1, and I think this is the hardest one really initially, because if you are a biological parent and you've never had to experience a holiday without your children, and now all of a sudden you're having to share them, and depending on how your custody agreements go or how you and your ex-spouse work together, you may be left without your kids on the holidays. So what do you do if you don't have your kids on the actual holiday?
That is a tough one. And this is one that a lot of people will mourn. This can put you into a really bad mood. You can really go into a deep state saying, you know, there's no happiness. I don't have my kid with me, or I don't have my kids. I don't even know how to operate this. And that's our normal tendency, especially when we're new into the blended family realm and maybe you're freshly divorced and experiencing the co-parenting to where you're having to split holidays, or sometimes we'll do one holiday on, one holiday off. I know for us, my biological daughter, she had her biological mother lived in another state. And so she would go for long stints. She would go for maybe the whole 2 weeks of Christmas. And a lot of times she didn't get to see her as often. So this became a regular occurrence to where we wouldn't get her on Christmas a lot. And so, you know, there's all different kinds of dynamics. We've seen to where maybe you're having to split the holiday. You get them for half the day and then the other half you don't. But there's still a part in a blended family that we will experience a part of a holiday without our kids. So what do we do? So the first initial thing is we do grieve, but what we've learned is that it's all on what you can control. You know, we can't control them not being here. That's just part of our dynamics now. And so really it all comes with our thoughts. We can approach it one of two ways. We can let that destroy us. We can let that destroy our mood. We can go into a state of depressive sadness. We can let that really steal the holiday and the joy from us. And what that does is that takes us down. It keeps us in the gutter. And it keeps everyone around us down and in the gutter as well. Have you ever been around someone who's just like that Eeyore? Oh my God, nothing works right. Everything sucks. My life's no good. You know, and it's one of those that nobody wants to be around that person, right? So actually that's...
Sorry if that's you.
Well, that's all of us. And I don't say that lightly. I say that as that's our normal, our natural tendency when we're experiencing that is to go that way, is to pull Eeyore out of our pocket, place it on our face, and let that just ruin our whole day and our mood. That's just our human nature. But the crazy thing is, it becomes repellent. So no one wants to be around you. Now that makes you even more sad and puts you into even deeper state of miserable. Or we could sit there and turn our thought. We could shift it and say, you know what? This stinks. I agree. You know, I grieve that. I understand. I wish they were here, but they're not. And I can't control that because we do live in a blended family, or we live in a divorced state to where my ex has, you know, they need their time as well as I need my time. And we have to share that, unfortunately. That's just our dynamic. So it's grieving that, but then it's accepting it and saying, you know what? Okay, this is just part of it. And then we take the extra step. And the extra step is sitting there saying, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy what I have right now. Enjoy whoever's with me. I'm going to enjoy their company. I'm going to sit there and maybe if I'm by myself, I'm going to do something for myself. You know, I'm going to spoil myself for a little bit. You know, I'm going to take some me time and I'm just going to have fun with that. So you see, we're taking a bad situation that stinks and we're turning it around and saying, let's do something better, something that's healthier for us. That way, whenever your kid is coming back, you're in a good state. You're in a good mental state. You're not in this miserable state to where you're knocking everybody down, or now that's spilling over to your kids like, I sure missed you during the holiday. I wished you were here. My day was so miserable without you. You know, and that's our other tendency that we want to spill that over into our kids. But unfortunately, when we do that, all we do is put our kids in the middle. Now our kids feel bad and there's nothing they can do about it. They're stuck in the whole dynamic with us. So the more positivity we can bring into that, the more healthier everyone's going to be. And that's a hard thing to learn.
Yeah, and it's one of those, we believe that in whatever situation your situation is, that you can find that positivity. You can find that awesomeness. When Randall was doing the intro into this, he's like, it's gonna be awesome, and then we're like talking about how sad it is because you don't have your kids. And it's true, it is sad. It is a period of grieving. It's not what you thought it was going to be. But chances are that you aren't going to be completely alone. You still have your spouse, or you have, your stepchildren or somebody else around you. And if you stay in that like depressive state or that Eeyore state, then everyone else is suffering alongside you, like he said. But no matter which situation you find yourself in, you can find these little ways to enjoy this time. Like he said, if it's just you, because for some reason maybe your ex-spouse has to drive the kids back or something, or maybe, I know for us, like Randall played on the worship team and he would be gone on certain parts of the holidays, and I would have like a half day Christmas Eve or something by myself because my kids had already left, and my stepdaughter,
I was doing it for the Lord.
He was doing it for the Lord. But my stepdaughter's in another state. My kids had already gone with their dad, and he's at the church. And now I'm sitting here at the house. But instead of that being like, oh, poor me, I did that for a little while, and then eventually I was like, you know what? This is a perfect time when I want to do that surprise setup for Randall. Maybe we're going to have like our time, our romantic night while the kids are gone, or I wrap those last minute presents or go buy those last minute presents because I'm a last minute person. I can use that time just to even breathe. My favorite thing is to put on a Hallmark Christmas movie, make some hot chocolate, and just sit and get cozy while I'm wrapping some presents up. So even if you're by yourself, finding some things that you enjoy during the holidays and using that. But if it's you and your spouse, find something to make this y'all's time together during the holidays, because not most parents don't get that because
That's
they
true.
have their kids 24/7. They're having to beg somebody to babysit so they can go finish these things. Or if you have like one set of kids and not the other, how can you do something special with them? So you have all these different dynamics that you can like, okay, so what is it that I do have, and how can I enjoy this moment with them?
Yeah, and it is so good that we shift our mindset on that. Because like I said, we have a choice. We can either choose, the first way, or we can choose, we can choose the negative side of things, or we can choose the positive side. And it's hard to think on the positive. And if you're challenged there, if you're finding that really hard you're like, I hear you guys, I hear you, but it's just so hard. We always say, give it to God. Go there first, pray about it, and allow him to help guide you with that positivity, because ultimately he's there for you and he wants you to be happy. So no matter what, when we lean on him, we really can find that peace. So, let that be a point if you're really struggling in that. And then the second part if you don't have your kids here on the holidays, one that took us a little bit to really understand is
I'm thinking of a wrong way to do it. I'll share that in a second.
Is be flexible. Be holiday flexible. And what do I mean by that? I mean, you don't have to celebrate the holiday on the holiday. You feel me? Like, if it's Thanksgiving and your kids aren't with you on Thanksgiving, but they're with you the week before, do your Thanksgiving the week before. Nothing says it has to be on this day. And I know that was hard for us to grab, but we started making some of our holidays, we started making them on different days, and that just became our family thing, our family traditions. And whenever we did that, that really eased the pressure off of stuff and allowed the kids to have more fun. And actually, it was fun for them because they got to do it twice. They would get to do it multiple times, which was a bonus. That's really in blended families. Sure, we don't always have the nuclear dynamic to where we're all together all the time. So, we miss out on some of that. But when we look for the positives and we look for the other bonus factors in it, we can actually pull some really good things that we get to do that makes it special for the kids and special for us.
Yeah, and just on that, I'm just going to share with you a blended family fail that we did one year.
Yeah, we've had many of those.
We have had many of those. I'll say what you shouldn't do is have all your presents like out and wrapped and such for all the kids, but since your stepchild isn't going to be joining you for another week, that you don't let your kids open the presents on Christmas Day, that they have to sit and stare at them for a whole nother week. I did not hear the end of it from the kids and from my side of the family. Like, how dare you torture these children? Christmas has come and gone, and you are forcing them to wait. And the thing is, my stepdaughter didn't have to wait to open her presents. She's at her mom's house. She's already opened it. But for me, I wanted this envisioned Christmas morning with our whole family. And I wanted it so bad that I was willing to make us all sacrifice in the
We're all together. We're all going down on this ship.
So get clever with it. Maybe you don't put everything out, but put a few things out that the kids can open that are from you, or maybe the things that Santa brings. You go ahead and let them open them and experience them on Christmas morning, but hold a few things if you want to have like a group Christmas when they come back. But don't be so set in your ways that you're punishing everybody, including yourself.
It is. It's a challenging thing when your kids aren't there. But that's part of the blended family dynamics that we have to navigate through. And we can either navigate through them in unhealthy ways that create more division, or we can navigate them through more positive ways and actually relieve pressure, tension, and bring us closer together. So yeah, whenever we can learn some of these things, man, I'm telling you, we saw just such a change in our family once we could kind of shift our mindset a little bit in us and with the way that we operated during the holidays. It really did give more peace and more unity in our home.
Yes, no, it's not as much anxiety going around. Okay, now question number 2.
Number 2.
What happens if you're co-parent, your ex,
co-parents and exes,
if they don't bring the kids back when they're supposed to?
What do you
they
do?
were supposed to have them back at 6.
And
You're all sitting around the Thanksgiving table, and it is 6:05, and they have still not brought them back.
Yep. Where's the ugly stick? You go grab a stick. And isn't that our first reaction, right? Our first reaction is to get mad. We just want to get mad, and we want to grab just a handful of mud and be ready to sling it and say, you know what? The papers, we'll get really mad. We'll go bust out the court papers. And it's like, the court papers say right here, it says you are to bring them back here at this time, on this date, at this o'clock, wearing these clothes. Okay, no, it doesn't get that specific, but you get the gist.
Some people do say bringing back in the clothes that they left in there.
That is true. That is true. I retract what I had said. So yeah, some do get very specific that they have to. But, that's our initial reaction, isn't it?
Or because this is going to happen because it's happened every year, you start from that morning reminding them in text message. Remember, you're supposed to have
6
them
o'clock.
back. Remember. And if you're dealing with high conflict situations, those kind of reminder texts aren't something that are like, oh, yes.
That's right. Let me do this.
Now I'm going to have them back on time. Actually, it's more fuel on the fire.
Yeah, and this is something I know I wished we had done better or learned how to better handle that earlier in the game, because that did, whenever you handle these situations, like I said, our first reaction is you want to just get mad, you want to get ugly, you want to throw the rule books at them. But whenever we do that, all we're doing is adding fuel to the fire. Really diving into the Bible. And what does the Bible tell us about anger? That whenever we become angry, when we approach with anger, we get more anger, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really, you reap what you sow. If I approach it with anger and frustration, all I'm going to get back is anger and frustration. Yeah. And especially if you and your ex are already at a high conflict situation. We define high conflict as not pointing a finger at one side or the other, but just you both have different viewpoints, like really big, large viewpoints that cause a lot of static and a lot of just frustration back and
punctuality.
Forth. Yeah, and for some parents, that's very very important, and for others it's not that important, right? And so it's just really being able to communicate in a healthy way. But yeah, if we approach it to where we're throwing the rule book at them, all that's going to do is fire them up. It's going to put them on the defense to where they feel they have to defend themselves. And then if you say 6, they're going to make sure that it's 7, just to really poke the bear a little bit. because that's our dynamics, right? We're still mudslinging, and that's part of it. So if you can put down the mud, if you can put it down and say, you know what, I cannot control that situation in that moment. I'm going to approach this day with love in my heart.
Yes.
And, I'm just going to be graceful. Maybe something happened, or maybe it just time is not a big factor to them. I'm going to try to just let it roll off my back. I'm going to try to be loving and accepting, because some of the worst things we can do is whenever the kids come, that we say something to the kids, well, if your dad would have brought them back at this time, then this wouldn't have happened. And all we're doing then is, sure, we're attacking our ex-spouse, but we're also attacking our kids. That's putting more pressure on our kids. Just kind of like we talked about a little earlier. Whenever we're putting these situations in front of them, there's nothing they can do about it. They're not in control of that. They're not in control of the other parent. They're having to be respectful and mindful, just like they are with you. So whenever we're showing that ugliness or talking bad about that other parent, all we're doing is really beating them up on the inside and bringing more confusion to them.
And again, more anxiety, because if your kids know, like, this is what you expect, and their other parent doesn't feel that same way, and now they've seen how this can escalate and get ugly really quick, now they're sitting there with that anxious feeling of like, oh crap, like, I know we're supposed to be back at this time. Mom told us.
Mom's going to be mad.
And over. Mom is texting us and telling us, when are we coming? We're all sitting around the Thanksgiving table waiting for you to eat. And it really does. It sometimes it's a personality thing. Sometimes it's even a culture thing. But if you can take that into consideration and see, like, okay, well, how can I do what I can do here? And so just a couple different situations and how maybe you can switch them around, and what we've done in our household to make it work. So if you take maybe like this Thanksgiving situation, like me and my family, they're very like punctual, and not even just like Randall's side, but I'm saying like my side of the family personally. So if we're having a Thanksgiving dinner and we said we're going to eat at 1, they're going to show up early and they're going to expect food to be at that time. Whereas my ex-husband and his family, that's more like a loose number recommendation. Like, you might not show up for hours, and maybe you don't all sit down and eat together. They all just kind of eat, as they come and go kind of thing. And so I learned over time, if we could have our Thanksgiving first, because we get started earlier, and then I suggest, hey, I'll bring them to you and drop them off, because I'm the one more with the punctual issue and want to make everybody accommodate them with that time. And then I can go drop them off, and it doesn't matter that everyone at my house is, ready to eat or not ready to eat. So there's that little mind shift there where you now do have some of that control if you're able to work with your ex-spouse in that way. Or, hey, I'll come pick them up, and you come pick them up from the party and bring them back if you're able to do that. I know we had to learn that with Christmas as well. Like my ex-husband, they're Hispanic. They celebrate on Christmas Eve. So my kids go with them on Christmas Eve, and then he brings them back. Well, the younger they were, they would come back around midnight, and the older they got, they started coming back at 2 or 3 in the morning, and I would get so mad and so frustrated because I'm trying to stay up so that I can, do all the things I need to do after the kids are home and tucked in bed. And it got to a point finally where I'm like, why am I beating myself up? Because then I'm miserable the next day because I didn't get any sleep, because the kids still woke up at the butt crack of dawn to open presents, and I'm going on just a few hours of sleep. So instead, I go to sleep like normal and then put my alarm to wake up earlier and get done the things that I need to get done. So trying to think outside the box, like, how can we make this work so that we're all happy in this situation?
Yeah, it really is kind of shifting the way that we're thinking, because our initial reaction when you're new into this and you're first experiencing some of these is we're still upset with our ex because we've divorced and things went south. That's the majority. Not everyone, but there's a small percentage that they get along and they're able to work things out. And kudos to you. I wish we all could do that. But, the large majority of us can't. We divorce for a reason, and there's a lot of anger and a lot of sadness and hurt and stuff that's still there that we all have to heal from. And so it is being able to step back and say, you know what, how can we do things a little differently instead of being quick to sling the mud, as I keep saying, because that's just a good analogy, mudslinging. That's kind of what it is, right?
Have a
You're
date
just
where
mudslinging.
we
should
do
do
a fun Friday,
a fun
mud
pit.
date.
I think we need to do that. We're going to put that one on the calendar. That'd be fun.
Yeah, where do we dig this mud hole?
We're going to turn the mudslinging into something positive. You see, it all comes back to taking a negative and turning it to a positive. How can we do that?
Yes.
Because it's better for us healthy, our health, our mental state, everything else. So that's good stuff. So yeah, so it really is control what you can control. Think outside of the box. How could I approach the holiday a little bit differently to maybe make sure maybe I am the one picking them up and dropping them off, if I am more the punctual parent. And then if it's on the reverse side to where they're being dropped off late, try to show love and grace. You know, we try to display Christ's love for us. We try to display that with them because love always softens hearts a lot faster than anger does. Anger hardens hearts. Love softens hearts. So if we can approach situations like that with grace, with open arms, keep our kids out of it, and just say, well, that is what it is. You know, it's just kind of there. Hey, you are here. Awesome. Let's pick up where we left off. Or maybe you have already started your event. You know, maybe you started your holiday with your other kids or the ones that are in your household. And then when they come, they just join in. And we just make it not a thing. You know, hey, come on in.
Don't sit around the table. Like your kids are supposed to be dropped off at 1. It's Thanksgiving. You're all sitting around the table. Don't do like I did at Christmas time. Where
We're waiting.
And you're going to make everybody sit around the table and wait for the other kids to get there before you start eating. If you're supposed to eat at that time, if you planned it, if you can't be flexible, then go ahead and eat the food while it's warm. Your kids probably have already eaten. If not, when they get there, then they can get a plate and they can eat as well. One of the biggest lessons I learned in counseling was if you can be flexible, be flexible. If you can't, then stick with what you got. My counselor had to say that. Because I was like, well, I don't know what to do in this situation. She's like, if it's not a big deal, then wait. If it is a big deal because other people, it's going to cause issues for everybody else, then go with your original plan. And I was like, oh. I felt like I was going to ruin my kids, like I was going to just cause all kinds of issues by moving forward without them. So.
Well, what ruins our kids, in our air quotes, is whenever we're putting them in the middle. So we go on with our meal and, oh, y'all finally showed up? Well, come sit down or here's your
no
meal.
More mac and cheese for you.
Yep,
you
sorry.
would have got some if your dad
right.
you back
That's hurting our kids, right? But if we approach the situation, we start eating, maybe we're halfway done or done. It's like they come, it's like, hey, man, glad y'all are here. Are you hungry? Can we make you a plate of food? And here, sit down. We've already eaten, but, come on in here in the living room with us, sit here and eat and, do that. And if it becomes a big deal for your kids later on that you still continue doing your thing, whether they're there or not, you're welcoming them with open arms when they do show up. So there's no pressure you're putting on your kids. And if that's a big deal for them, like they want to be there from the start, they're going to get more vocal with their other parent and they're going to help make sure that they're punctual. Hey, I really want to be there whenever they start this, then that, if that's a deal for them, they'll start speaking up on some of those as well. But as long as we don't make it a big deal and we try to just approach everything with love, I'm telling you, you'll start receiving more love in those situations.
And moms, don't get upset if they already ate stepmama's mashed potatoes or macaroni and cheese or whatever, and they're not hungry when they come. Just let it go. Let it go.
Let it go. Let it go.
There you
Not
go.
gonna hold
you
back
hadn't broke
anymore.
out the song yet, so we need that.
I don't know the whole song, but I know that was super popular. That's why I know it.
All right, we
But,
ready for question 3?
Question 3. Thrice.
Question number 3.
Number thrice. Here we go.
Everyone doesn't get along when we are together. What do I do? We'll be right back. Check this out. Blended families can be hard at times, can't they? Have you ever said, I don't feel like me and my spouse are connecting? Or I'm bending over backwards and my stepkid still pushes me away? Or do you feel like your family's doing okay, but you'd like it to be more than okay? You want your family to level up, take it to an even stronger level.
The truth is, we're all looking for more joy and happiness in our lives. So how do we start seeing that in our blended family? Because really, our family is the first place we should truly be enjoying and having the most fun with. So, how do you enjoy your blended family? You create more fun opportunities that your family loves doing. These are big things, they're small things, things that cost money, things that don't cost money. But the more fun you have together, the less blended family drama you'll have, which equals more joy and happiness for everyone. Now, you may be saying, yeah, but I don't know how to do that. I don't even know where to start. That's okay. We walk you through 5 fun dates you get to have with your family. These dates help you discover those fun things your family loves doing. You'll walk away with so many more great ideas and have an amazing, easy plan to make it happen and to keep it going. Plus, you get to have a lot of fun discovering all this in the process. We walk you through everything and make it really fun and easy.
So how do you enjoy your blended family? By going on these 5 dates and discovering fun in your stepfamily. You'll be so glad you did. Have more fun together and you'll see less problems. The link to get started on this amazing journey is in the show notes of this episode.
Fire them all. Fire them. Just say, you're done. We're firing. We're hiring new people.
Holiday.
I need a new family. I'm putting ads all over Facebook. Does Facebook Marketplace, can you hire people, family? Can you do that?
I haven't seen that one yet. I'm pretty sure on eBay you can.
On eBay? Okay. Well, then, yeah, that's number 1. Do that. No, kidding. Don't do that. Put your phones down. Put your phones away.
I'm glad you said kidding because I know there was somebody out there.
That's our first instinct, isn't it? It's like, we're never going to get along. We're never going to get along. I just don't even know how this is going to work. And then you start even questioning your marriage. You start questioning your family. You start questioning, is this the right family? Should I have got another family? Or do we need to just go ahead and chalk this one up as a loss as well and move on and try, go find the other perfect one? And
because you see everybody else on Instagram with their matching pajamas and you're like, that's the life I want. And this is the life I have. I don't want to do this another 15, 30 years. So I'm out.
Yeah. And that's our first instinct whenever that happens. And I'm just envisioning this picture because, we, this was quite a few of our holidays and stuff as well. But, I'm envisioning your family. You've got your step kids, your bonus kids. You've got your biological kids. Maybe you've got an ours baby, you and your husband, and somebody's giving somebody the stink eye. The whole night, I don't like you.
And it's the stepmom and the stepdaughter.
That is the hardest relationship to get along initially, but it is the most beautiful and rewarding relationship once it does.
Stick it out.
So yeah.
When in doubt, stick it out.
When in doubt, stick it out. That's good. We're going to quote that one. But yeah, that's a lot of blended families initially, and a lot of times a few years into the whole mix, that's the dynamic during the holidays, because sometimes some dynamics, they're not all together all the time anyways throughout the year. That, sometimes it's just few occasions, or sometimes they are, but everybody's staying in their rooms, or there's still that division walls and things, and you just try to sweep it under the rug and stuff. But I guess the first thing here, if you hear anything right here, it takes time. It takes time. And on top of that, it takes intentionality. We'll talk on that here in a minute. But on average, they say the people that have done studies and surveys and all that, and there's different ones, but the average consensus says it takes around 7 years for your family to blend well. It takes time. So if you're a few years into this and you're still seeing some really not things that you wish, some ugly stuff, then just let that at least give you a little comfort that it does take time.
And it'll get there. I like to do the disclaimer, because if you jet now, you're going to have to start back over and go back to those hard 3 years again with somebody different.
That's right.
So stick it out.
Stick it out, because there is beauty on the other side. Now, maybe you're 7 years in and things still look this way, and you're going, I'm above average. There are certain things I don't want to be above average. This one is not one of them. So, but that's where we're going to talk the intentionality. The intentionality is a big part of blended families. And once we can start doing this, and we're gonna dive deeper into this, hopefully this will be okay, this is awesome. Good stuff, guys. Thanks, man.
What's that from?
I don't know. I just sometimes you just do dumb voices and stuff. But the other thing,
Sometimes you do dumb voices or stuff.
one
I know you were
I
thinking
feel the
Nacho
love.
Libre.
I feel the love.
Okay.
But one thing that, we're going to talk a couple points here, a couple of things, a couple of thoughts. But the first one is, are you actually having fun? Are the kids having fun during the holiday? They might be miserable. And maybe that's why stank eyes are being thrown around, because they just aren't happy. This isn't what they wanted it to look like.
There's not what it used to look like. They had this holiday that they've spent with their family for however long, and they have that ingrained in their head, and that's what they're looking at. And now it's like one of those family photos, and you just cut out mom or dad or whatever and throw them out, and then
You fold the picture over just to have the
copy
two.
and paste and just put like your picture there, and you're trying to insert yourself or insert your new spouse or these new kids in there. I mean, it is odd and uncomfortable, and so we have to take those things into consideration as well.
Yeah, sometimes, depending on where you're at in your blended family, if you're fairly new into it, maybe a few years in, you might have had certain traditions that you did with your kids, and now those are gone. And now this holiday looks a lot different than it used to for them, and they're kind of mourning that in a sense. They're not going to be happy because they were used to it being one way, and now it's not. And so really being able to understand that and say, okay, well, how can we maybe take some of our old stuff that we used to do and incorporate it into what we're doing now? And maybe some, having, if you're really new, still having some of that traditional time together, and then having your together time together. And then eventually it will blend into your blended family's time together.
If your kids are at an age too, ask them, what are some holiday traditions or whatever that you would like us still to include? Some of them may be so personal, especially like if you are a widow and their mom is no longer here, their dad is no longer here. Some of those things may be so personal that they don't want somebody else doing that, or they may be so personal that they do want to carry that on. So having these conversations with the kids and asking them, what are some things from our old Christmas or our old Thanksgiving that you loved and that you would like us to keep doing? And then what are some things like, okay, we could do together, like something new?
Yeah, it all comes down to really being able to communicate with your kids and keeping that communication open. So even before the holidays, asking, what does Thanksgiving look like to you? If you, what are you envisioning Thanksgiving to look like? What are you envisioning Christmas to look like? And asking each one of your kids that question and really hearing their hearts into what that looks like. And then, as Scarlett's saying, start asking, what would you like to do? And if you can start doing more of things that your family wants to do, your kids are going to have more of a buy-in when it's time for the holiday. They're going to want to be there, and they're going to want to do the things, because now it's not just something mom and dad does or they're making us do. It's something that they want to do together, and it's something that they look forward to. This is kind of the holiday to them. So that is a big deal.
Yeah, and another thing that you can do just along that same lines, and this works like on a daily basis that you can do this, but it's so important to do this around the holiday as well. And that is talking with your spouse and your kids on like, what do you envision this day to look like? And moms, we get this picture in our head of this movie of what we expect the day, and hubby over here has
Hi, I'm hubby.
He has a completely idea, especially Thanksgiving. Like this was, for some reason, this was one of those holidays that we never really communicated like what we wanted out of that day. And in his mind, a perfect Thanksgiving is a belly full of food,
turkey dressing,
sitting at the house watching football and falling asleep. And that to me,
I'm envisioning that right now. That's just like the perfect day.
And that to me sounds like Sunday. It doesn't.
It's a glorified Sunday on Thursday.
Yes, a Sunday that you had to cook a lot more food to. You know, it just sounds like something that's not very special. Like, if anything, if football's going to be included, I want the family in the backyard and we're playing a game of football. And not that I even like to play football, but in my head, that's what families do. They get together, they eat some food, then they go out and they play in the backyard and play touch football. And we don't even have athletic children. So, or at least 2 out of the 4 are not.
They would be the ones being miserable, giving stink eyes to everybody.
And yeah,
I'm going to throw this football at your face.
I don't even like to really play football, but in my head, that's what Thanksgiving is supposed to be. So that's what I'm expecting.
So it really took us communicating with each other on what that looked like. And sometimes we would alternate Thanksgivings. We would sit there and one Thanksgiving we would do it her way, and one Thanksgiving we would do it more my way. And we would just really collaborate on that. Collaborate and listen. Sorry, that just went there. But, you know, we would have to kind of work that out. And that was our compromise to saying, okay, now we're both kind of getting what we want.
Well, and remember, though, we might have to talk more on this on part 2. But remember, we're both from divorced families as well. So we not only, if I choose to do it my way, I could either go see my mom's side, my dad's side, or choose to stay home. Those are 3 options that I have. And then on his way, he could go see his mom's side, his dad's side, or go to stay home or choose to stay home. So we have all of these options. Even when it's your way, my way, it's still very complicated.
So you have to be able to talk through all that. And what do you want that to look like? Maybe it is every other Thanksgiving you're rotating, or maybe it's you just open up your house and say, whoever wants to come, if y'all get along, y'all come. You know, so but you and your spouse have to be able to talk and communicate that. But with the kids, bringing them on board, what do they want it to look like, right? So you want to get their opinion, especially if they're older. If they're younger, they're going to kind of go with the flow, you know, but if they're older, if they're preteen, teen, you want to ask and really get their input. So those are important things. And just to realize that, you know, those are those expectations that you might have, and realizing that other people have those as well. So it's not just about your expectations, but what does everyone else looks like, and let's reach a compromise. And so the last thing on this topic,
just real quick, I just want to say, I wish I would have had a podcast like this when we started out.
I'm telling you,
we had to learn all this through trial and error. If we would have had somebody saying, take the pressure off.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. Stop doing it. Quit.
Stop. Or here's a suggestion outside the box. But no, it took me crying in the closet to figure this stuff out.
And I'm eating a turkey leg watching football. The last thing kind of on this topic of everyone doesn't get along when we're all together during the holidays, the last thing I want to point out is it doesn't stop on the holidays and it doesn't begin on the holidays. A lot of times we can sweep things under the rug all year long, but if we do that and we expect everything to be hunky-dory on the holidays, we're setting ourselves up for some failure. Really, for us all to be able to get along on the holidays, we have to be working intentionally throughout the year. And that looks like having time together, setting aside family time together, quality family time together. I'm not talking about to where everybody comes and watches TV. I'm talking about where everybody's coming and playing a game together, or they're doing an activity together. They're going outside together. You know, something that involves you coming together, involves your kids coming out of their rooms, involves all of y'all in one room, one location, spending time together, you know. And the more intentional we get with that, that's this whole blended family movement, is being proactive in our family, sitting there saying, you know what, let me make sure this is intentional, because we do all kinds of intentionality throughout the weeks, right? I mean, we make sure we get our groceries ordered. We make sure we pay our bills. We make sure we get to work on time. We make sure we shower. We get our kids where they need to go on time. We make sure they get their homework done, but we never make sure that we're spending quality time together. You know, these are one of those things that we keep it at the very end, that if we're able to do it, if time allows, then we do it. When actually that should be one of the first things that we're putting on the calendar, making sure we're doing this first. We definitely need this in our blended families. If you hear nothing else, hear this. We've got to have quality time together first on our calendars and then build our life around that. And that's being intentional. That's saying, okay, I know it's a priority. I need to make this happen. Because relationships just don't happen. And in blended families, you're bringing your kids together that don't really know each other. They don't know their bonus parents. They're trying to figure out this whole trust thing. And if we're not being intentional in those relationships to create those bonds, they're not going to happen. It's not going to happen as well or as efficient. But if we set time aside, if we're doing it, we like to say at least twice a month, if you can do a family night or a family day or a family hour or whatever of y'all doing something together, then whenever the holiday comes, you've been working on establishing those relationships to where now when everyone's coming together, it's not miserable. Now you are more together because you've been building those relationships. Yeah. So as you're hearing this, I hope this has helped give you maybe a different perspective or help give you some encouragement. Because the holidays really can add a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, a lot of frustration, and your holiday could really end up being miserable, which makes your kids miserable, makes everybody in the house miserable. Or we can do a few things and turn it around and say, no, let's make this holiday awesome. Let's make it really special that we all love and enjoy being together.
Yeah, and like you said at the beginning, that awesome word, that this is going to be an awesome episode, and it is, you are getting to walk away with all of these different things for that mindset shift that you have with your family or just with the holiday in general, and give them a try. One might work, one might not, but you have all of these options now that you may not have thought about before.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the importance of community, right? That's the importance of listening to podcasts and diving into resources, blended family resources, and continuing to do these things in your family so that we do stay proactive and help our relationships grow together instead of growing apart. We got to be intentional in that. We got to make it happen, and we got to figure out different ways to approach things. So really continue following us, make sure that you're subscribing. We've got our little email thing in the show notes. So if you're not on our email list, we send out weekly emails that are blended family specific. Just, we dive a little deeper in some of those, and you stay connected to our BFAM community. Yeah. And that way we're all staying proactive and growing together. So if you're not there, check that out. Get on that. We have a free gift we'll give you with that, but be sure you grab that. And this was part one, y'all. I mean, this was 3 questions. We only tackled 3 hard questions that blended families we face during some of the holidays.
Yes.
So part 2 is coming, and part 2 is we're going to dive into even more. So you'll see us kind of on social media and stuff like that talking about this as well. Yeah. But man, good stuff. I hope this is helping to set your holidays up for success. So listen, we love you, BFAM. We love each and every one of you. We know your family's blessed, and we will see you on the next episode.
Enjoy
Bye,
your
guys.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope this episode has been a blessing and encouraged your family journey.
Make sure you stay connected with us and join our weekly Blended Family newsletter. We send an email out every Friday morning full of support and encouragement.
And when you join, we also want to give you a free gift. So go get yours today. The link is in the show notes below.
Have an amazing day. Remember to enjoy the journey with your blended family, and we'll see you on the next episode.